Mentioned souvenirs, and I know that from talking to some other veterans, souvenirs were very important because well, for whatever reason. But show us what you have with you today.
Okay, when the war was over, we were capturing prisoners and stuff were coming back, and this SS trooper was with them, and we disarmed all of them that's coming back. And I had the honor of getting in front of this guy, SS trooper, which he in charge of about 7 or 8 men, you know, and the meanest one in the battle. And he had this on his side. And he had a Luger, and he had this around his arm, and he stood at attention while I stripped him. And I stripped him, and I kept this knife. And I brought his Luger home too, but I got rid of that later on. And this is a sharp dagger-like. It's pointy and sharp in both edges. And on that it has all for the Dutch land. That's what he used.
Well, those SS officers very often would commit suicide rather than be captured.
I don't know why this one didn't, but that's the only one that we ever captured. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot more out there. And this is the only one we ever captured.
Why were the SS so mean?
Well, it's just like if you take a group of men, and there's always one that's meaner than the others. And that's what Hitler did. He picked up all these mean guys that didn't care if they lived or died. And he put them in charge. And he told them what to do, and they did exactly what he said.
Now, you know, it's hard for many of us to imagine the kind of things that you describe, how we would feel about it. I mean, you mentioned about your heart pounding with the tank. I mean, describe it, how afraid, because I know that's a question you're asked very often. You know, when were you most afraid? When did you think that you weren't going to make it? I mean, throughout your war years, when were you most afraid?
When I stand in front of that tank.
That was it?
Yep, that was it. I thought this is as far as I'm going to be able to go.
Now, do you think about home? Do you think about what you're going to miss, or is it just adrenaline flowing, or what?
Oh, yeah. I often said, I don't know why, you know, that I'm back here. Because you can't get a tank as a rule with the bazooka. They're impossible. Why I did, I have no idea.
You said that you thought that maybe your shell went down the barrel.
Yeah.
Were you aiming for that, or
I was aiming for the front of the tank.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't be accurate with a bazooka. You aim it toward it. It's like a stovepipe about that long. I call it a stovepipe. Mm-hmm. And when you fire that rocket, you know, they don't go straight. So I don't know where I headed.
Now, you were in Europe at the end of the war. Is that when your service ended? How long were you there in the European theater?
Over there, I was over there. I think it was only 17 or 18 months actually in the war over there.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, again, I think a lot of people have their knowledge of World War II from movies they've seen, television shows, books they've read. Was it fighting day after day?
Tell you what?
Was it fighting day after day? How often would there be a fight?
Well, it all depends on what area you're in. If you had enough of people to relieve you, they'd come up and relieve you. You'd go back maybe for a day or two, you'd rest a little bit, and then you'd right back up. Mm-hmm. But if there wasn't enough men there, you stayed there on the front line.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was all part of the Battle of the Bulge, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you think back on that, I mean, again, this has all been portrayed in movies and everything. How accurate have the portrayals been over the years?
How accurate, the movies you mean?
Yeah.
Which one of the movies?
Saving Private Ryan?
The Band of the Brothers.
Band of the Brothers, yeah.
And Private Ryan, or whatever you call it.
Saving Private Ryan, yeah.
That was pretty real. That's about what we had to go through.
It's 60 years later, and you obviously have some stories to tell, and stories that your service you're very proud of. But when you think back on those years, what comes to mind?
You mean when I was back there?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, in 60 years, when you think back, people bring up World War II, what comes to your mind?
That's a good question.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, it seems from a lot of World War II veterans we've been talking to, a lot of them say that, you know, we didn't feel like we were anything special.
Well, we didn't. I didn't feel as though anything special about me. I was just over there doing my job. Just another job. I mean, at my age, I really didn't care too much, you know. I was a little, like you call it, daredevil, I guess. So.
Wait, do you think that you were a brave soldier?
No, I wouldn't say I was that.
Did you know brave soldiers, or is it one of those things that you do your job, you do what you have to do?
Yeah. I know I wasn't a coward, or I wouldn't have stayed at that church. Like the other guys ran out on me. So I guess I could be called brave. I don't know. Well,
you also have, you know, we talked a little bit about Hitler's lair and all of that, but I mean, you have a unique experience to tell a lot of people. There aren't a lot of people in this world who have been in the same room as Adolf Hitler, or you know, things that belong to him and all of that. I mean, does that kind of, I mean, when you think about it, do you think that was really something special, or just what?
Yeah. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I planned a trip to go back over there. And I said, well, we're not going on a tour. I said, we're going to go by ourselves, because I want to go where I want to go, see if I can find that church in that town and the places that we were. And that's what we did. We found the church, but it was clear different. They had a big telephone light pole right in front where I was standing, and of course they had the church patched. I showed her where I was standing, and we went into Birch's Garden, and we went up, and they had that built like a souvenir shop now. But the rooms were still underneath in the ground, you know. And she looked around, I showed her all of that stuff. And while when the war was over then, we were coming back. Well, I had the transportation developed. One needed drivers, and the one general wanted to go to the concentration camp, and we were up pretty close to Hamburg, Germany, and there was one a little north of that. So I volunteered to drive the Jeep. I took him up there to look at over where he burnt the Jews and stuff, you know. And that I couldn't take. You could smell it. 25 miles away before you got there, you could smell it yet. And of course, they had big furnaces there and ditches, you know, and it was awful.
It's one of those things where you just can't imagine that people could be that
inhumane. People back here don't think that it's possible, but it was. It was.
I mean, the general that you drove, what was his reaction to it? I mean, did he have the same reaction as you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Lehman, thank you very much, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.